All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We are having a little bit of a switch up here in terms of the setup. We are going to be doing a little bit of a podcast, a video podcast for y'all with John Shin. We've got some big things in the works, and you know, this setup here is where we're going to be doing it. Behind me, we've got like all the reels that we have from like Shimano, some Daiwa behind us, some swim baits. But it's going to be big bait centered, and we're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff. So look forward to that. It's still in the motions, but I decided to give y'all a little behind the scenes, a little sneak peek, a little preview of what's to come. But today's video, we're gonna be talking about one of the things that I get asked a lot in the wintertime. I catch a ton of fish on the jerkbaits, and the last video I did was about jerkbaits, exactly when to fish certain types of jerkbait. So if you haven't watched that one, go view it. I think it's in this corner. I'm working on it, guys. I think it's in this corner. Go click this video after we're done here. Learn a little bit about fall jerkbaiting and how you can up your game in the fall time, get more bites, and land more fish. But this is going to be piggybacking off that video, guys. So I talked a little bit about the rods I like to throw, you know, for certain jerk baits, but this video is going to be specific on which line I will throw on jerk baits. So there's three types of line, right? You got your monofilament, you got your braided line, and you got your fluorocarbon line. Now, each of them have a different purpose in each angler's arsenal. There's no one correct answer. So breaking it down pretty simply, guys, there are two main types of jerkbaits that I talked about in my last video. First off is going to be your very loud, erratic, very big presence jerkbaits like this Ito Shiner. And then there's also going to be your other ones that are very finessey, that you can work very finessey, and that's going to be your 110s, your Mavericks, and something like that. So we're going to talk about the strengths of fluorocarbon on each of these, maybe some downsides, talk about the braided line. A lot of people don't throw a lot of braided line on their jerkbaits, and I think that maybe you should try it, maybe you shouldn't. It all just depends on how you fish, and we're going to dive into that in this video here. So before we get going, guys, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on the video, only at the end if you enjoy it, and follow our social media, Instagram and Facebook, for all the cool updates we got going on at the shop here. So let's go ahead and hop into it, guys. I'm going to tell you what I like to do first off, straight off the gate. I am a fluorocarbon guy through and through. I have thrown braided line on a wide variety of casting reels and spinning reels, and it's just not for me. I'll tell you why here in a second, but fluorocarbon, I mainly throw 12-pound or 10-pound Seaguar or Braid line, and that works for my Ito Shiners, it works for my re-ranges, it works for my 110s, my +1s. It really just works for everything, and I can really switch out the rod depending on how much action or input I need to put into that bait. Now, obviously, the main differences between a fluorocarbon line and a braided line is the stretch value and also the line diameter. So, of course, your fluorocarbons and your monofilaments are going to be thicker strands compared to braided line. You know, 20-pound braided line is basically like the equivalent of maybe 15 or 12-pound fluorocarbon line. So you're getting a little bit of a variance between the two lines from the stretch and also from how that bait works through the water, or how that line works through the water on different baits. So my typical setup, like I said, is 12-pound or 10-pound of Braid fluorocarbon. We've got three different tiers here. I'm going to hold them up to the camera so you can see them up close. We've got a few brand new lines, such as this Shimano Mastiff line, and we also have this brand new Overwatch line from Sunline. So kicking it off with the fluorocarbon, because that's what I'm most comfortable with. That's mainly what I throw. The fluorocarbon line, most of the time, depending on which one you get, I like the higher end lines like your Tatsus, your Mastiff, your Abrazex, lines that are very limp as you use them. They're not, you know, they don't have a lot of memory. Invisex, Seaguar Invisex to me has a ton of memory in it. Redline, same thing. Sunline, Sniper has a lot of memory in it, and I just can't get behind that, especially on these reaction baits that you're really moving around trying to make the fish react to them. You know, if you have too stiff of a line, this bait isn't going to get the right input, and those fish are going to get turned away just because of you know, the action that you're creating or taking away with those poorer lines, the poorer line quality. So my main line, like I said, is a Braided. This one is also very, very good. This is the Shimano Mastiff. I've tried it out quite a bit. I really, really enjoy the Mastiff line. I think it's a very high quality line. It is extremely strong with the nano armor. And what this is going to do, my rod of choice is a 7'2", or sorry, a 6'10" medium heavy rod for my jerkbaits, and it's going to be a moderate fast tip on it. So that means I still get really, really good inputs. However, as I hit that fish, my line stretches just a little bit from that fluorocarbon, and it also allows me to keep those fish pinned as much as I need to in a fight. And I don't change out my hooks on my jerkbaits. I keep them all the same stock Katsuage hooks from Megabass, or if I'm throwing like a shiner or something like a Jackal Re-Range, those are also very, very good hooks. But even on these real light wire size 6 hooks on the 110s, I can still get away with it. You know, I'm throwing really light, not really light, but you know, pretty light line for Texas here. 10 pound is generally as light as I'll go because I am working through some very, very snaggy areas, some very dangerous areas, places with cast nets and, you know, really, really heavy monofilament just stuck glued down to the bottom from all the bank fishermen over the years. And that's kind of one of the main reasons I love the fluorocarbon line, is because it's super, super strong. It has a little bit of stretch value in it, so you can get away with a more medium heavy or heavier rod for your jerkbaits. Most of the time, if I'm throwing a regular 110, guys, I'm gonna be throwing around 10 pound test. If I'm throwing a +1, getting it a little deeper into those more hairy areas, especially around like Fork or places that have a lot of timber, the 12 pound can be very, very good. Now again, a Braided is usually my go-to right there. And then I also absolutely love the Seaguar Tatsu. It's got the double structure technology, so it allows me to use it over and over and over again, and it's not going to wear down as fast. Now, for Braided Line, guys, I have thrown it on a spinning setup and I've thrown it on casting setups. Now, both of them are very similar. Typically, with a spinning rod, you're getting more parabolic bend in it. So one reason I do enjoy, and this is one thing Randy Blockett has talked about, is he likes throwing jerkbaits on a spinning rod. Most spinning rods, like I said, have a lot more bend in them, so braid does make a whole lot of sense. Typically, you can run a mono leader or a fluorocarbon leader. A fluorocarbon leader is generally more turned to from people that do throw Braided Line on their spinning rods or casting rods, mainly for the fact that it is very abrasion resistant. It's super strong, very, very low memory. But that's just kind of what I like to do with my spinning setups. Another huge reason that people use spinning rods for their jerkbait setups is that you can throw much lighter jerkbaits. You know, if you get into the X Nanahan sizes, the real small 80 millimeter, 75 millimeter jerkbaits, you can really finesse jerkbait these fish, and the spinning rod allows you to cast extremely, extremely far. One of my favorite reels right now is the Corrado 70 MGL. It is great for throwing a 110. You can still throw those really, really light Rapalas. The Maverick is very easy to throw as well, since they added that new weight transfer system in it. But the Braided Line, guys, allows you to cast extremely far on spinning setups. Even casting setups, braid is typically easier to cast. One of my favorite braided lines that has come out in recent years from Sunline is this Overwatch. This stuff here is extremely, extremely thin. This is the 18 pound test, and like I said, 20 to 18 pound test line is going to be very similar to your 12 or 10 pound lines in the fluorocarbon, in the fluorocarbon world over here. So having the Braided Line still allows you to get your bait down there. It's a much faster connection, so when you do set the hook, you're instantly driving the hooks into that fish's mouth and, really just being able to have full contact with that fish. So the Overwatch is a great one. Another great line is going to be the Suffix 131. This thing here is a 13 carrier line. It is exceptionally strong, extremely smooth casting, and very, very thin. Another one that I run a ton and basically almost exclusively on my spinning setups is going to be the Seaguar Smackdown, of course, in flash green. It is overall just one of my favorite braided lines of all time, and I can really throw my light lures out there very effectively. Now, a lot of this information here can translate to your crankbait, so just remember that. This is more jerkbait specific, but any information here is very transferable, especially when it comes to the stretch and the shock absorption. You can translate that to your crankbaits as well. So when it comes to the fluorocarbon and the braided line, there are huge pros and huge cons to each, depending on how you fish. So if you are an angler that likes a lot faster style rods, a lot heavier style rods, go with fluorocarbon. It's going to be a great shock absorber for you. You're able to throw the lighter line and it still have that super abrasion resistance. And if you're not great at tying in FG knot, guys, definitely do that. If you do like the braided line and you've got a rod that's more of a medium or medium light style rod, whether it's casting or spinning, and I guarantee you guys, you will have a ton more success out there. So if you need any help or you have any questions about what we went over here in this video, leave them down below in the description. I'm always down there, guys. Give the shop a ring, talk to Tim or myself. Guys, we're always ready to answer questions, even on lakes that aren't regional here in Texas. Tim and I have both fished around the country, whether it's, you know, Tim was in the military, in the Army, and he was stationed everywhere, and he fished around there, and I fished in the college series for Bassmaster and FLW/MLF, as well as collegiate bass trails. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little video here. Whether you're a fluorocarbon person or a braided line person, definitely check us out, lakeprotackle.com. We've got the best selection for you, and we can help you pick out the one that's perfect for you. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Check out the line, check out the baits, check out everything else we got behind me here. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like on it, and we will see you next time. See you guys.